Last summer, I went to North Bay to visit a friend of ours who moved there for school. North Bay is, well, literally north of where I live, and it's about a 3.5-hour drive, which is basically in nowhere territory. Not to say it's a trashy area, well, minus the shadfly plague, but I think it's actually a pretty nice place. I went with my girlfriend Claire and my friend Hayshawn, who you may be familiar with because he's the one who blew my cover in my late night pho video. The trip there was pretty smooth. With the amazing technological advancement called cruise control, it didn't even feel like I drove there. What's there to do in North Bay, you might be wondering? Well, not much to be honest. It's not exactly a tourist spot. They do have a beach alongside Lake Nipissing, which, despite its name, I'm sure is clean. I'm almost 100% sure. Anyway, North Bay pretty much just has nature-oriented activities to offer, which I enjoy. I wouldn't call myself an outdoorsman, but I do fancy the occasional camping and hiking trips. We took it easy once we got there since it was a pretty long drive. Aiden has 4 cats and a traumatized rabbit, so we had fun hanging out and just playing with them all night. The next day, we decided to head to the beach to try canoeing, which I've never done before. My parents never enrolled me in summer camps or Boy Scouts or any of that stuff, so I missed out on a lot of childhood experiences. Except Kumon. I did Kumon. And destroyed all my math classes. Thank you, Mom and Dad! So I was pretty excited about canoeing. We went to the rental place by the beach, but unfortunately they told us that it was too windy and unsafe to go out. We thought maybe it would die down later, so we decided to do something else in the meantime. The rental place not only offered canoes, but Surrey bikes as well. Those 4-person quadricycles, which I've never tried either. I mean, I can ride a bicycle, I've rode a tricycle, but I've never gone
even further beyond!
So I thought it'd be fun. It wasn't. Well, it was for a while, until we started going off path and Claire's phone went flying out of Hayshawn's hood and shattered into the 7th dimension. Why was Claire's phone in Hayshawn's hood, you ask? Well, I put it there. We had shallow pockets, okay? So it was kind of a sad ride back to the rental place. We hoped that maybe the wind died down so we could finally canoe and get our minds off of our recent loss. Nope. It was worse. So we returned to Aiden's house, defeated, but had hopes that the weather would be better tomorrow. The next morning, we took a quick hike up a mountain, ate lunch, and then headed back to the rental place. The worker recognized us from the previous day and knew what we wanted. He took a peek at the lake and said, "Yep, should be alright." And then I looked at the lake, and it was pretty much the same as yesterday. He probably felt how eager we were to canoe, or maybe he just wanted to make a sail. I don't know. Alright, so the launch area was oriented like this. You got this area closed off by these rocks, which is where people park their boats. This area had calm waters because it was separated from the rest of the lake. The canoe could only comfortably fit 3 people, so Aiden decided to get a kayak for himself. Before he let us go, the worker asked if any of us have canoed before. Claire and I gave a reluctant shrug, but Hayshawn answered yes, so I trusted his confidence. I was aware that he did dragon boat, so maybe we were in good hands. Aiden tried to further comfort us by saying, "Don't worry guys, it's really hard to capsize a canoe." And we trusted him. We trusted him! Even simply getting in was a struggle, but once we got our footing, we were comfortably seated. Claire in the front, me in the middle, and Hayshawn in the back. While I've never canoed, I understood how to row a paddle, so we didn't have much trouble with that. Only needed a minute or so to find our tempo, and we were off. We didn't exactly have a path we wanted to follow. We didn't plan that far ahead. So once we got to the docks of the enclosed area, we thought, heck, let's go out into the main lake. We've canoed for a good 4.5 minutes.
It's time to leave the nest!
So we decided to leave and try to go along the coast. The moment we left the area bounded by the rocks, the water went full Moby Dick on us. The canoe was rocking and the waves were starting to carry us away from the land. Aiden told us to orient the canoe towards the waves so it wasn't just T-boning us consistently. But, I don't know, we just lost our tempo and weren't really rowing towards a particular direction. But eventually we managed to calm down and stabilize the canoe. We were good. We got this. And then, the son of a mother on a boat comes and steers himself towards us and does a sharp turn away, which caused these big-ass waves to form and devour us. It was over. We capsized. We had life vests on, but we didn't want to simply save our asses and abandon the canoe. It was a rental. Everyone seemed to be okay, but we were still pretty panicked. Our flip-flops went flying, my hat went flying, Hayshawn dropped his towel, which was actually my towel that he was borrowing. Claire was swimming in her dress. Aiden was a little bit ahead of us, but he immediately turned around once he heard our screeches. Once he saw that we were okay, he headed back to call for help. But we weren't okay. We wanted to save the canoe. Fortunately, we weren't too far from the rock border that enclosed the inner area. Unfortunately, well, they were rocks. Sharp, jagged, and slippery rocks. But we had no choice. So Hayshawn and I tried to pull the canoe in as we mourned for our flip-flops, hat, and towel. And then I look over at Claire, and she's holding them! Well, minus the towel. Yeah, that was long gone. She somehow managed to grab them as they landed in the water. What a save. Now, we just had to save the canoe. Hayshawn managed to get some footing on the rocks, but because he was holding the canoe and the waters were rough, he kinda backed into something that didn't buy him dinner first. Anyway, turning over a capsized canoe is extremely difficult, especially in deep and rough waters. We didn't have time to look up a video on YouTube, it's not like we had our phones, nor did the worker explain much about what to do in a situation like this. We did understand that you couldn't just simply roll it back up because that would scoop in water, weighing the boat down more and further submerging it. But eventually we did manage to pull it up to the rocks and flip it over, and then waited for help to arrive. Once they did, we put the canoe back on the calm side of the water and attempted to get back in. Claire went first and almost ate shit again as she fell in, which rocked the canoe and almost flipped it over again, but luckily one of the workers jumped on to stabilize it. Hayshawn went in next, but I decided to just walk back instead. Does this happen often? I asked in hopes to save my dignity. Nope, never. Feels bad, man. Once we returned, we technically still had a half hour left in our rental, so we decided to go back out. But this time, we didn't go past the rocks. It was a sad 30 minutes. But we got ice cream afterwards to cheer ourselves up. We were okay. After cleaning and drying ourselves up back at Aiden's place, we headed to City Hall for a Pride rally in support of North Bay's first Pride Parade. Very happy to have been a part of their city's history. And that led to the end of our day. After eating dinner, we said our farewells and headed back to Toronto that night. Next time, I'm just gonna get my own kayak as well. Hard to capsize a canoe. My ass!